Right, so while loop is actually essential, and it works in Python just the same way it works in Bash. So why something is true, so why something is true, we want it to continue to do something, to print something, and we can just put a condition here as long as 1 is actually lesser than 10. So we want it to, one is like we want it to print 1. I know that we want it to be 1 is lesser than 10. You know, this statement is actually true, and it will continue to be true. So let's just run it for the sake of simplicity. As you can see, it continues to print it that 1 is lesser than 10, and forever and ever and ever. But this is I think it's going to be a lot more interesting when we try to put I equals to 0, and as long as I is lesser than 10. Okay, so we want to print that, then you can do I plus, or I think I plus or equals 1. So we try to increment the value of I. Let's do that before we print that. Let's do it after we print to the console. So we're going to run this program again, and you can see it runs to I. Say, sorry, 1 is lesser than 10. 1 is lesser than 10. I shouldn't say 1. I should have just concatenated this now, this guy. So here we are just going to turn this into the I don't know what I want to call that sign, but it has already been part of me. I like using it a lot. Okay, so that's just going to be I think so. I don't know, does it look like Java that we add things like this? Let's see. If you have an error, then I'll have to come back. So by using this sign, so these are little word codes. I don't know what to call it specifically. I know what to call it. There's a name for it, so I forgot it. And after your 1 on the keyboard, you can find it before you get the 1. So before you get to 1 on the keyboard, is it's actually the first character that comes up before 1. So let me just run this program. Okay, so we run into an error there. I observe, so let me just add this. So we save it, and let's see if there is an error. So we run into an error. Okay, f string, and here add f. Okay, let's see again. And I'm still running into an error. I just want to use f string. Don't mind me. All right, I'm running into an error. Maybe I forgot how to use f string. How I can use f string anyway. How do we use f string? I think we use f string like this, then we'll pack the variables inside. All right, I just don't want to stress myself because I think I'm stressing myself a lot. So what we can do is just to concatenate this guy, so we can say the variable I, then we continue like is lesser than 10. So why that is true, and if peradventure I becomes greater than 10, if peradventure I becomes greater than 10, so we can just come here and say I is greater than 10. So let's run this program without error. I don't know what's wrong. So you can see things actually work. So 0 is lesser than 10, 1 is lesser than 10, 2 is lesser than 10, obviously 3 is lesser than 10, 4 is lesser than 10, and until it reach 10 itself is greater than 10 or equals to 10. I should have just do that. That's my bad. So you can see why the while loop is so essential. You can use it to loop through some sequence of variables like that. Okay, so that's what I want to show you. Okay, we can also loop through, I'll show you while loop. Do we have anything like for loop from this guy? So the while loop environment variable, so there's not like for loop. So let me just quickly show you for loop. Also, to use for loop, so we can use for loop to loop through some sequence, just like while loop. You can say for I in range. So let's just put range we're starting from a 0 to 10, I think so. All we want to do is just to print the value of I. Okay, so let's try to run this program once again. Let's say range is not defined, so we need to import range into our program. Import range. I think so. If I run into an error, I'll just try to look into it. So there is no storm module as range, so let's just look for range itself. um, okay, I think it's from a module name random. Is it random? Is it from rand? Okay, so we just one thing about Python is you can check the documentation pydoc of rand, and if there's anything like that, sorry, I didn't put the version I want. Pydoc 3 of random, it said pydoc of a random of range like this. So okay, it is range, not range, so I lose my mind there. All right, it is range like this. So then we can use the range function. We can import range, then use the range function. Let's just run the code like that. So it give us some documentation about range. You can see it give us the start, the stop, and the start, so which we can use. Like, this is where we want to start, this is where we want to stop, and this is how we want to step. Probably want to step by 2, step by 3, or something like that. No, I'm not losing my mind here. Alright, so let's clear this and run Python program. Range, it said import range. We don't need to import range anymore. It's actually a built-in function which is available for us to use at any time during the program. Sorry. Alright, we run it again. You can see it's loop through from 0 to 9 and excluding 10 for us. So that's how to use for loop for us to loop through some sequence of arrays. So let me just introduce to array. Probably we have array like this, array, array like that. It's just like a container that contains some info. So maybe you have I just want to put some range of IP address right there. So, and I forgot my IP address already, so let me just try to grep inet. Alright, there we are. There's our IP address. We copy that, move back to our code, then we'll paste it right there. So maybe we want to ping some of this array of IP address. %.1 is alive. I think 127.no.1 is also alive. So what we can do is just that we can import OS. So probably maybe I'm not going to cover how we can automate stacks with Python anymore. So let's just go ahead and do this. Say for I in array, so we just want to print that value of I. You can see all we're just going to have is the list of our IP address. So for I in, so I missed the N. I think I'm so much in hurry this morning. Alright, I'm so much in hurry. There's still a lot of other tasks for me to cover. That's right. So we have 102.168.43.0.1.1. So we're able to loop through this value, or let me say sequence of array. Okay, let's see where we are. Well, we've talked about the loop statement. I think we've talked about the parameters and environment variable. We've not actually talked about parameters. I think we've talked about the environment variables. Okay, we've not talked about the environment variable. We talk about the parameters. So in the next video that is coming, we're just going to talk about the environment variable.